And now it's time. I said and now I said it's time. And now for something completely machinima. And now for something completely machinima. And now for something almost entirely, very precisely, but just not exclusively, sort of adjacently, kind of approximately, complete machinima. And now for something completely machinima.
Hello and welcome to And Now for Something Completely Machinima, the podcast about machinima, virtual production, and related technologies. My name is Phil Rice, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Tracy Harwood.
Hello.
And Damian Valentine.
Hello.
Ricky Grove is off somewhere. I've run out of ideas, but he'll be back. He'll be back soon.
Hang on. Is he not in Pittsburgh? Is he not
for Lisa's thing?
Yeah. So Lisa, Ricky's wife, is receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award for her contribution to horror writing. So well done, Lisa.
That is awesome. Yeah,
Isn't
we'll look
that
forward to hearing about
incredible?
that from him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
So he has a legitimate excuse for not being here with us tonight.
Yeah. And we see where his priorities are.
Of course. Typical.
All right, we've got some news. That's what the theme is for today. So a little bit of news to catch up on. Damian, why don't you start off with some items?
All right. I've got a couple of things. First off, I'm going to start with an AI thing, which I feel like this is possibly one of the. Okay, so people know I'm not a fan of AI, and stuff like this really does not help. It's a contract was signed between ElevenLabs and several different corporations who owned the sound and likeness of Stan Lee, the Marvel comic book writer, with the idea that you can use ElevenLabs to basically generate his voice and his image and incorporate them into anything, and it's open up to fans to do it. I believe it has to be non-commercial, but it's there. And I saw this. I thought, well, he's passed away many years ago, and now some businesses who aren't even his family have just signed away his voice and image, like his face, to be used. And I feel like just let him rest in peace, because this is not a nice thing to have done. And I've looked at some of the reaction from the Marvel fan community, and they're not particularly thrilled about the idea either. I mean, he was quite famous not just for the writing he did, but in the Marvel. He had a little cameo in many Marvel films. Like you'd see him, like he'd be in the background, or he'd say one line of dialogue to one of the characters or something. It's just there. That's the Stan Lee cameo there, and it's just a little nod to have him incorporated. And of course, when he passed away, that was no longer possible. So it feels like now they're giving fans a chance to do that, but it's just, I don't know, it just feels really tasteless and horrible.
Was that deal, Damian? Do you know, was it made with Stan's surviving family, or was it with Marvel?
It wasn't with Marvel. It was. I read it, and it wasn't his family, and it was two different corporations, but it wasn't Marvel or Disney. It was the Stan Lee something or other. I forget the title of it, because I read it to understand what was happening, and I kind of did not want to absorb all of the information long term. But it was just two corporations that had the rights to his sound, to his voice and his face, who had signed up with ElevenLabs to do this. And I don't know, I just didn't really like it that much. So I feel like this is something I wanted to share because it's a horrible use for AI. I know that I understand why the people do like AI for some reasons, even if I don't share those views myself. But this feels just I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah, it's creepy territory when you're dealing with, particularly when you're dealing with someone who's passed on. And this is, it's something that's been brought up as a concern a while ago, and now we kind of like, to some sense, would we all knew that this day was coming when people would start to do this, and it's a little on the creepy side, yeah.
Do
And
you
what
think, here's a question though, do you think, given what you've just said about Stan Lee himself actually wanting to be cameoed in various films and what have you, do you feel that these companies have done this for money or done this because they respect the way he popped up and desired to pop up in a bunch of works, and maybe this is a way of carrying on that sort of approach and legacy.
So the article I shared has some quotes from some of the executives from these companies, and the way they were talking, it was that they're kind of patting themselves on the back for how clever they are. They can bring people back to life digitally.
Mm.
So I think it's more about the money and not about respecting what he would want to do. Because they're saying, look at this technology, we can bring the dead back to life, and they can still fans can create stuff with them and things like that. It's not necessarily a um, I mean, they didn't say we're doing it for money because if they did that, that's not a
Yeah,
good
they can't
PR
say
thing.
that, right? Yeah.
But
Mm.
you could just reading it, that's what was going through his mind when he was saying it. Not he wasn't doing it because he thought this is something that Stan Lee would have really wanted. He was doing it because he saw a chance to make a load of money.
Mm.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have really been able to, I mean, he passed away before he would have been able to really express much of an opinion on that, I would think. I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah,
2018,
generative
none of this was
AI.
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generative AI as we know it now did not exist when
Yeah.
he passed away, so he wouldn't have had a chance to um, even say, "Look, please don't do this."
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, without his involvement, it does kind of it kind of has a feel of like a grave robbing type of thing, right?
Exploitation, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. That doesn't that feels weird.
Yeah.
He very well may have said, "Oh, that was great,"
Well,
but he
he didn't
didn't.
he didn't
He
get a
did
chance
not.
to.
Right, right. Huh.
Well, it's kind of a similar note. James Earl Jones actually did agree to having his voice. He recorded things so that AI could be used to
Yeah.
create Darth Vader's voice after he passed
Right.
away, and he has since passed away. Um, this is spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the show yet. But Darth Vader shows up in the Darth Maul animated show. He doesn't say a single line of dialogue because I think the creators of the show, they knew they had that option. They decided not to use it. He's there. He could have said things, and they gave an explanation of why he didn't talk about saying, well, Darth Vader doesn't really care enough about the characters he's in the world with in this story to even bother speaking to them. But that feels a little
Yeah, it
bit.
seems kind of thin, doesn't it?
I think it's
Yeah.
more a case of they didn't want to do the AI
Sure.
route, even though they had the permission
Mm.
and everything they could needed to do it. They just didn't want to.
And
This
it also
debate
makes me
is,
wonder, was there reason for, let's say that they did consider the option and ruled it out, like we're assuming that it wasn't just that the script never had any lines for him in the first place, but let's assume that
mm,
they did consider it. I wonder if what they were considering was personal feelings about it or potential backlash
yeah, it's the backlash I would
from the
think that
fan
they were
base. Yeah,
thinking
because
about it.
that can be
Yeah.
fierce right now. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's almost illogical, I think, a lot of the backlash, actually, because we've had recorded voices of people in many other different forms that have been included in all sorts of things. I mean, you have home recordings of family members that have passed both image and sound, and if you're gonna pull, if you're gonna, it's not uncommon, for example, for a parent who's passed away to leave a message for a child on their wedding day. So these are not uncommon things to use, but it's more a case of what is the additional way that it's being used, and
Hmm.
how is the value of that character or that person being portrayed in whatever the new content is.
Yeah.
So,
And
so
who's
it's
cashing in on it?
and exactly, and
Yeah.
how is that being
That's a
exploited? I think.
factor.
Yeah,
Mm.
because a parent who knows they're not going to make it to their child's wedding day recording a message, they're recording a message for their child. They're
And
not,
family,
yeah,
and because it's usually shared at a wedding or
yeah,
something, isn't it?
right.
So
So
Yeah.
whoever's attending the wedding is going to see that. That's the audience. But it's bit different from
yeah,
having a recording of Stan Lee, taking all his recordings he's done over the years, putting them into training an AI on it so that people can have him say whatever they want. That's a very different thing.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah. I get where you're going with that. Yeah, I
yeah,
understand that.
yeah. Right, so we'll leave that behind because it's kind of a grisly subject to start with, and on to some more exciting things. So as the weekend that we record this, the Summer Games Fest is going on, and it's a series of live streamed events or pre-recorded events that are broadcast at specific times for various gaming platforms. We had the Sony PlayStation one. There's an Xbox one happening right now. There was the actual one called Summer Games Fest, which is on Friday, which is there's a lot of them. Anyway, I picked out a couple of games that saw news about that I thought were worth mentioning. Um, so first off, Dune Awakening, which is a game that we have talked about before because it's actually available now. It's getting a console release, but it's also getting a single player mode. Now, previously, this is a multiplayer online survival game set on Arrakis, and we've looked at it, and you can create environments, you create your base and customize your character and build things up. And we've talked about how this could be a potential mission or a platform because of the creativity that this game allows. But then there's also element of, yeah, but it's online. So when you go offline, your stuff is still out there for someone to come and blow up or steal or whatever. And so you may find it's all gone. And I think Phil and I, we both agreed at one point that we like the sound of the game, but we don't like that element of someone can mess with
Yeah.
our stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they're adding a single player mode. And my understanding is they're also having, it's not necessarily a single player mode, but a closed group mode. So you can have a sort of like a private server with yourself and
Oh,
whoever
that's
you want to
perfect.
invite.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that might already be available, but the single player mode is coming in, I think it's September. So, it's only a couple of months away. But both of those options make it a lot more appealing as a machinima platform because you don't have to
Sure.
worry about the trolls or anything
Mm.
else.
Mm.
So you've got this Dune game, which is a sandbox environment with creative tools, and I hope to see people use these new features for making machinima. So I'll be keeping an eye out on it in from September onwards to see what people do.
Cool.
Mm.
Two game announcements I saw and the trailers for. Tracy, you will love this one. It's Alien Isolation 2.
Oh
Now,
no.
I I doubt this game is going to be of any use for machinima because the first one really wasn't. But it's worth checking out just to look at or listen to
Or
the way
not.
the way they built the environment and the world, the sound and everything in it is so much detail in it. They capture the atmosphere of the first Alien film perfectly.
Oh
They tell a
wow.
very different story, but it feels like that world. Like they've got the corridors, the sound effects lifted from the film, or even the new sound effects they've had to add for the game. They feel like they belong in that world. It's kind of got that retro sci-fi feel from the 70s with like the video displays. And there are things like um, to make the uh, computer displays look um, I'm trying to think of the right word here, but to make it look like they weren't in good shape on the videos that were being shown on it, like actual video footage, what they did is they would render it out and they would put it on they transfer the footage onto a VCR, and then they damage the tape, and then scan that back in so it'd look really
Wow, that's
grimy and
cool.
gritty and
Old
distorted.
school. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what ended up being in the game is after they'd gone through that process. So that first game is worth exploring just to examine. Just, if you want to learn about atmosphere and world building sound, play that game. It's a terrifying game, so you have to keep that in mind. But um, that is one of the good things about it is the way the amount of effort they put into the sounds and visuals and everything. So I imagine the second game, it's the same company. The people who left Creative Assembly have gone back to it to work on this game. They're going to put the same amount of effort into this new game, so I'm excited for it just for that. And even though this trailer is only like a minute or two long, you can tell that they're putting that kind of effort into it. And when I was watching the actual stream, um, it was on stage and they had Lucy James, who's a games journalist. She came out on stage to introduce it, and she said, "You've been waiting 10 years for this." Suddenly, all the lights go out, and you hear this thunderclap, and the lights on the stage flash, and then the trailer starts. So even just doing that as a presentation was kind of getting the people excited for the atmosphere of it. So I wanted to talk about that. It's not machinima tool, but it's something you can learn from. Then the next game is one I'm very excited for, probably to the point that I'm going to be really annoying people between now and the 27th of August. It's a Star Wars game called Zero Company, and it's in the style of XCOM. Some of the same developers who left Firaxis to create their own studio to make the Star Wars XCOM game. So you have customizable characters, and you take them on missions, and it's kind of turn-based. So you have them there, you get your turn, you can move them whatever number of squares it is. I don't know because they haven't said that yet. Or you can shoot something, and then the other side takes over, and you do that. But it's also going to be very cinematic. So when one of your characters does take aim, the camera's going to move down, and you're going to see them, and they're going to do that, and you might get shot from the other side. Whoever they're shooting at is reacting. So it's you got that. As a kind of a cinematic. I don't think you can control the camera when it's doing those cut scenes, but you're going to get a lot of action there combined with the customizable characters. I thought, well, there's potential here for Machinima because you can create the characters you want and you capture the footage and you can put in your own dialogue or whatever you want to do. But I like XCOM style games. I like Star Wars, so I'm just excited for this game. But that cinematic thing is making me think, well, maybe I can do something with this. So I wanted to mention that. And now there is one other piece of news I've not put on the board yet because I wanted to see reaction. But as we've been recording this, the Xbox stream has been going on. I've had it muted, so I don't necessarily know all the context. But I'm sure we'll all be very delighted to know that there's a remake of the very first Halo game coming.
Excellent. Well, that'll please lots of folks. Okay.
Oh man, my head was spinning like, what is it? What could it be?
As soon as I knew that was coming, I thought, but sorry?
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not what I have guessed.
Oh, as soon as I thought that was coming, I thought I need to make sure that is a genuine thing. And I thought it's going to be on recording. I need to bring it up on the news recording.
Okay.
Oh
Good.
boy.
So that's the conclusion of my news is Halo is coming back.
Thank you, Damien.
Have fun following that.
You don't have to pin that to the board. It's okay. Okay, so we've got some mayhem coming. And that would be in the form of the Machinima Mayhem contest, which is put on by Crowbar Productions. I'll just read a little bit from their sort of press release here. But Crowbar Productions is proud to present our third annual Machinima Mayhem, a 3-month-long film festival showcasing the creativity and talent of the Machinima community. It runs from June 1st to August 31st. So at the time of that we recorded this, it just started. Whenever you hear this episode, you still got plenty of time. Choose any game and forge your cinematic masterpiece within this year's genre, which is war. Now, it doesn't have to be just about war, but war needs to be the primary theme of it. But you can use any game. It does need to be a game. Actually, there was one person on their Discord who asked, and I don't know if they were trolling or if they were sincerely asking, but hey, can I made I'm working on a stick figure animation. Can I submit that? And honestly, I don't know if it was a sincere inquiry, but no, you cannot enter a stick figure animation. You probably can't use iClone. This is specifically focused on
Game-based
game-based
cinema.
stuff. Yeah. Crowbar Productions, a lot of a lot of them work within Source Filmmaker, doing Half-Life stuff and Gary's Mod as well. But I've been spending some time on their Discord because I'm actually a judge on this
Yes.
contest. Yeah. Logan, the coordinator of it, reached out to me and asked me to do that. And yeah, so I'm gonna be part of the judging there. So, but people are posting just their work to share with each other, not part of the contest. And there's people making stuff, of course, with GTA and with some of the Call of Duty games. So I'm going to be watching that for possible picks to bring here for us to look at for the show.
Oh, I look forward to seeing
Yeah.
what gets submitted. I'm sure they'll get loads of exciting stuff. We've shown some of their work, their selections in previous
Yes.
years as well. So I'm really excited to see
Yeah.
an actual contest being run, and I really like the format that they've put together for this sort of, extended period of time in which you can absorb the content. And I'm guessing it's an audience vote as well as a judge's vote.
I don't know. I know for sure that there's a judge vote. Maybe they'll have like an audience favorite as well, but there is a prize pool
Yes.
of $1,000, which I assume gets split somehow between the first, second, and third place picks. So, and I've seen they actually showed a sample of what the judging form looks like. It's all very detailed and very well thought out. This is not their first year, obviously. This is the
I
third
think
year
this
they've
must
done
be
it.
about their third or fourth
Yeah,
year
it's the
on it.
third. It's the
Third year,
third
is it?
one. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So anyway, that runs from June 1st to August 31st. If you have trouble remembering that, just remember that is also the dates that the Reallusion 3D character creator contest for 2026 runs. June 1st to August 31st. They're basically that is a character design contest. They have quite a bit in the way of prizes as well. It is considerably more than $1,000, but the competition for this one is quite stiff. Yeah. But
Yeah.
hey, it's free to enter. So if you've got skills in that regard, go for it. Do
Go
something
for
in
it.
it. I would recommend doing something innovative, something that, is out of the ordinary, just making an imitation of a celebrity or something like that. That's probably not going to rise to the top in this. This is going to have some people who have fully designed their characters within Character Creator, and it's going to have some people who start it in ZBrush or a more advanced tool and bring that in. So there's a lot going on there. All the details are available at a page on their site, which we'll link. But this contest has been going on for several years, and it's kind of amazing some of the stuff that people make. So yeah, if you've got skills in that regard, give that a shot and see how that goes. What else we got? Also from Reallusion, they have kind of put out their video for this year it's kind of like a look ahead video of, hey, here's what we're working on. Here's what to expect to see. And this won't make Damien's day, but a lot of the emphasis, surprisingly,
This is your
on
payback for that
how
Halo
they're
thing, isn't it?
is how AI is going to, be available as something to enhance their tools. Now, actually, this use of AI is the most interesting of all to me, versus just generative make something without any effort kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is trying to leverage some of that tech within the context of these tools that we use to sculpt and create and craft. So I think that's interesting, and maybe a thing that at some point, you know, people who feel the way Damien do might actually warm to it eventually.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take away a creator's job or role, and it doesn't make us less creative in the work. So that's worth looking at if that's your bag. None of it is going to be mandatory, as far as I understand, that you can still continue to craft things the way that you do. These are just new enhancements that are going to be available. One
Well,
such thing they're calling the AI Creator Studio, I think is what it's called, which
yeah.
is kind of separate add-on app that, from what it looks like to me, it looks like a its main use would be in the realm of like a style transfer,
Mm.
that you build your scene in Character Creator or iClone, you build it out completely and then run it through this almost as if it's a filter, and it can enhance the style in different ways and turn it into a different look, that kind of thing. Transformative, basically. So that's
Mm.
interesting. If it would work on video, then it's how is that drastically different from
Runway.
building an iClone and rendering in Omniverse or in Blender or in Unreal, where
Mm.
you're going to do further enhancements. So it's one of those that kind of starts to blur the line a little bit. So that'll be interesting to see what becomes of that.
Mm.
Well,
I'm Go ahead,
I can
David.
say I can add to that. It's actually already available.
Mm.
Okay,
Between when this was added and now, they released that. I haven't tried it. I'm sure that's
I
not a
haven't either.
surprise. Um, my understanding is if you try it now, you get like 1,000 credits or something for free
Right.
to give it. So I don't know what the deadline is on that. So by the time this goes out, that may have already passed. But if
Yeah.
you do want to try it, do it quickly because you can do some rendering with it for free before you start
Yeah.
having to buy the credits.
My understanding too is that the primary emphasis and use case for it right now is leveraging rendering of still images.
Hmm.
Um,
Which makes
Supposedly
sense.
they've built their tool to latch on. You remember, we didn't talk very much about VoiceBox here, but I did a review of VoiceBox, which is a local offline answer to ElevenLabs, where you've got a program you run on your computer, and then you can attach it to any one of several different text to voice engines, right? This seems like the same concept. The program, the AI studio, is going to be there, but you choose whether or not to use, I don't know. I don't use them enough to even know all of them by name, but Midjourney or things like that, that you can latch into those things. So the challenge, I think, for it to be useful to me, who doesn't necessarily have like a native objection to, you know, what I would consider proper or non-detracting uses of AI, is the fact that it's always, I think, going to be credit based. And so if it takes however many credits to render one still image, and I like to render my films in 60 frames a second, that's never going to be affordable for me. Like it's not, I don't want to add a new expense to my ledger. And I don't
No.
see how rendering a video, whereas I can render a video out through Blender or Unreal Engine or Omniverse, and it doesn't cost me anything. And if
Mm.
it
I'll have to
goes
have a look at
wrong, then
it.
I just try it again, or I tweak something, I go back, I re-render. To me,
Yeah.
there's no matching that. So if it's going to always be the cost that we've come to associate with AI generated or style transferred images, then for me, that's a non-starter. But we'll see how it goes.
There was the other rendering option that they're going to add, which is I was hoping that was the one that's going to come first, where they've struck up a deal with NVIDIA to do the ray tracing rendering within
Yes,
iClone. So you won't have to use NVIDIA Omniverse anymore. You can just do it straight from iClone. I'm
yes,
really
and that's
excited for that one.
I am too. I think that that's mentioned in the video that I've got here, where they're kind of laying out the
Yeah.
roadmap, and that one was much more exciting to me too. Yeah, yeah.
So is Omniverse going then? Because I thought that was a
Oh,
key kind of platform that they're.
no, Omniverse, as far as I know, Omniverse is still going to continue, but it's
Mm.
take the way I think it's going to work, because all we have to go on is the like 20 seconds in this video. It sounds like they've taken the rendering from Omniverse and it's a plugin that's going to be, it's for free. They did
Native.
mention that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I
And
see.
so you can render Omniverse within iClone without actually having to install Omniverse as a separate thing, which
Yeah.
is good because they've changed the way Omniverse works. So you now have to download the code and compile it yourself before you can use it, which is a pain. So I'm still using a very old version of Omniverse because I didn't want to have to mess with that.
Ah,
Sure.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, Omniverse has kind of moved into the direction, I think just because that's where the demand is for like production houses and stuff, where they're actually
Yeah.
going to be latching it on to their rendering pipeline. And yeah, so for solo creators like Damien and I, that's just not a
Yeah, yeah, I get
that's
that.
too
Well,
much trouble to be worth it. So this
to
is great.
to me, the benefit of it always was team-based development of stuff. Be, because it sort of knits everything together and everybody's contribution is in a pipeline. Yeah, so that was always how I
yeah.
saw the benefit of that. So if that's going, that would be a real shame for studio-based
Uh,
stuff.
it's still there, but you have to take the code and compile it to make it the platform you want it to be.
Yeah.
And I did do that once, and it was such a hassle, and I couldn't figure out how to make it save the compile. So it seemed like so every time I wanted to load up the software, I would have to compile it first. And I thought, I'm just going to stick with this old version that works just fine, and
Right.
not have to do that every time I want to load up the software. And
Fair
I
enough.
find it actually works best that because it's such a resource heavy piece of software. After each render, I like to close it and start it up again. So every time I do that, I then have to compile it and then start it up again. So I don't want that as a
Uh,
because it's not a quick process
it
to
doesn't sound
compile
like it
it.
suits your workflow at all, does it really?
No, so this
Uh,
plugin, it's a free plugin where it does the ray tracing rendering within iClone, is making me very happy. I'm also hoping that it will allow things that don't necessarily transfer very well to Omniverse just work again. I'm thinking the soft cloth fabric and hair. I figured out how to do it. It creates massive files because you have to export this model and it does every single frame is saved. And so you get hundreds of gigabytes of just one object. So I'll render the footage, hope it's all right, make sure it is, and then I'll delete that object because you just can't keep it.
mm,
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
so I'm hoping this means that I don't have to do anything like that again because it's all just done straight to iClone. And the other thing is the iClone has a really nice particle effect system. I was using it for explosions and things before switching over to NVIDIA Omniverse, and those don't transfer to Omniverse because I tried it and you just get the little cube icon, little cube where
Yep.
that's where the effect spawns from, but that's it. It doesn't do anything. And
mm.
Omniverse does have some nice effects in it, but you have to take some time to figure out how they work and position them and all of that. Um, so again, it'd be nice to not have to deal with that.
Fair
Well, I
enough.
don't know about you, but like when I'm designing a scene in iClone, I like to light it as I go sometimes, because sometimes how it's going to be lit makes a lot of difference
Hmm.
in how things are going to be laid out. And the fact that whenever you take it to Omniverse, you basically whatever lighting you've done in iClone, it doesn't directly transfer. You have to do it differently because lighting works different in there. And it's the
Yeah.
same when you go to Blender. It's the same when you go to Unreal. That you almost, I think, like people who like Ben Tuttle uses Unreal Engine for his outputs, and I'm pretty sure he does his set design and lighting and all that all just in Unreal. He doesn't even bother doing it in iClone. But I'd
Same
kind of
with
like to be
me.
able to do all that in iClone. I think that would be
Mm,
nice. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. I just, when I'm working on iClone, ever since I made the switch, I just light it enough so I can see what I'm doing, and
hmm
that's it. And then as soon as it goes over to Omniverse, I delete those lights and light it again from scratch. I do
sure.
actually like doing that because it's nice to see it coming together in the ray trace thing with
But yeah,
the
you can
light.
build. Yeah, there's nothing extra at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and the result you get is it looks really great. So
yeah.
yeah, whatever you're doing is working for you.
But there are some limitations with that, like it's harder to animate lights and things like that.
Hmm.
Like if you wanted a flashing light, let's say on the bridge of a starship, and you get red alerts, so you want the lights to be flashing red on and off. In iClone, that's easy. You
Yeah.
can do it in Omniverse, but it takes a lot more effort. You have to
Hmm.
go to each frame, you have to keyframe each light and say, well, here it's going to be at full strength, and then uh, half a second later it goes back down to zero. And then half a second later it goes back to full and so on. But you have to do that every single frame. With iClone, you can do it once and then you just copy the keyframe moments
Keyframes. Right,
all the way
right,
to
right.
the end.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So I'll close with just
Well,
an article.
just
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say I have got a couple of things I want to air.
Okay.
Um, Not least because I won't be around to discuss the pick that you made, Phil, where with which you're going to discuss with Ricky and Damien
Hmm.
when I'm not around. But there's a couple of things I want to sort of just touch on in relation to it, which I think I'll mention, and it has to do with some of the decisions that one or two governments are making about the availability of social media platforms. Now, without putting a spoiler on the discussion at all that you're going to have. What Phil's picked for his choice this month is a compilation of TikTok shorts, some of which have been put together based on game engines, and some of which are riffs and memes and compilations of different things and bits and pieces and what have you. And there's a couple of observations I'll make about it. One is because the compilation video that you've shared is separated from the platform on which it was created, it's kind of difficult to judge the the content in and around, shall we say. But the other
Hmm.
is the implication that we seem now to face with the way that government's talking about we must ban social media platforms. Now, the quality of the work that you're showcasing and the discussions that we've had around content that has been created on platforms like TikTok over the last couple of years, I think has grown in quality exponentially. I mean, we touched on TikTok stuff a couple of years back and we kind of concluded that actually it's rubbish generally. There was
Hmm.
really, there really wasn't a lot there to be enjoyed. The quality was naff. There was
Right.
nothing kind of going on. But what you've put together shows a different level of quality of work altogether, and yet it's only available on TikTok. Now, I don't know who the creators of that work are, but my guess is there's an awful lot of younger people involved in that kind of creation. Now, TikTok, I think, has a sign up audience of around 14, and a lot of the games that you might actually be making content from would have sign up ages suitable for younger people. And now here we've got government saying, no, you can't access these kinds of platforms until you're at least 16 or 18 or 21 or whatever it is,
Right.
because they're not suitable for your age group. Now, the question I raise with this is, and bearing in mind, we talked about this young man's astonishing achievements a couple of weeks ago, is the example of Kane Parsons,
Hmm.
who this summer is going to release probably the most successful film release that we'll see over the summer. The Backrooms, yeah? Or Backroom, whatever it's
I'm gonna
called.
go see that on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
If Obsession, another film made by a very young YouTuber,
yeah,
doesn't beat it out at the box office.
well,
Those
okay.
are the two leading films right now. It's astounding. Yeah.
I can't believe this. But Kane Parsons is what? Is he 20 yet?
Yeah, I
I
think it's
don't
like
Yeah.
22 now.
Yeah. He's
22 now?
22.
All
Mhm.
right. Well, he would have started developing this sort of content because we've been talking about that for what 3 or 4 years at least, and it's been around for several years. Anyway, my point is, I think governments, when they talk about limiting the use of platforms for younger audiences who are incredibly creative, I don't think they've got any idea of the impact that this is likely to have on the development of creative practice going forwards. And yet they're quite happily saying, oh, yeah, there's such a lot of bad stuff on it, we need to ban it. They're like throwing the baby out with the bathwater thinking about it in this way. And I'm disgusted that this is the kind of approach that they have to it. I really hope that this does not get legs and that, young people can kind of pick up the tools, some of which you've demonstrated in that pick you have, and, showcase the kind of creative talent that we've talked about for years, 20 odd years, we've talked about the creative talent that's emerged from the likes of the machinima community, where whole new ways of creative practice have evolved, which are now informing, established industries who are falling over themselves to try and develop work that you guys have been working on for years. It absolutely infuriates me that they're thinking about it in this very narrow-minded way.
It's
So
this,
that's just really all I wanted to say. I don't know what other people think about that. I just want to throw that out there because I'm not happy about what is being talked
it's
about.
it's the latest incarnation of video games teach teenagers how to go around shooting people,
Absolutely.
or rock music goes is teaching people to be violent, or
Hmm.
it just goes on. It's
Mm.
just the latest version of that. I really hope it doesn't happen either. I do understand there's been some tragic incidents,
So do
and
I, but I mean
I don't want to downplay that. I want to acknowledge that it's there, but I don't think blaming all of social media and limiting it for everyone is the answer. I mean, I've been online since I was 10 years old. I've
yes.
had friends, the people I'm still friends with, like I was talking to someone last night. I've known her since I was 12 years old and she was 11. We're still friends now. We're really good friends.
Yep.
And we've worked on videos together. I've helped to develop a website. We've met in person many times. And that's she's a lifelong friend, and I hope that continues for many other years. I've learnt about other countries from friends. Like I didn't know anything about Finland or Sweden until I made some friends from those countries, and they were telling me things about what it's like to live there. And uh, you know, we grew up with watching the same TV shows, but they were translated to Finnish and things like that. And
Mm.
it's great being able to have that as an option to make friends online. Yeah, there are horrible people online, but there are also plenty of really nice people online as well.
Mm.
And I think it's up to the parents themselves to keep an eye on what their child's exposing to. It's not up to governments to say what's suitable for the children.
Yep. Here, here. Anyway, I wanted to share that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like, just the four of us on this show,
Mm.
we probably have combined close to a century
It's more than a century,
exposure
Phil.
exposure to video games, right? Well, I'm being, yeah.
Generous.
Yeah. So let's say a century, a solid century of exposure to video games. And between the four of us, we've only killed less than 10 people. So it's really, yeah, the whole argument is just bunk.
It is crap.
So
It really is crap.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to
So I'll
talking
leave
about
that.
that
I'll,
TikTok
feed
compilation.
that
Yeah.
one into your discussion with Ricky because I'm bummed that I can't join in that because I think you've got some fabulous examples there. I'm I think we've really got to start looking at TikTok more and seeing what folks are doing on that because if that's
Yeah.
the quality of what's coming out of it, I'm dead impressed with it. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's a teaser there.
And I had probably twice that many
I
videos
bet.
before I culled it down. Yeah, it's there's no shortage of the
Yeah.
content. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, there's a second volume coming at some point.
I don't know. I kind of wanted to see what do you guys even think of this, in the first place as an idea because it's a little bit more laborious than just pinning a YouTube to
Yeah.
our board. I kind of had to download all those and then edit them and put them on Vimeo and stuff. So, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
It's like I just wanted it to where you can't really link to a playlist on TikTok, and not everyone uses TikTok or can use TikTok.
Yes.
And I just wanted these to be able to be seen. So without taking anything away from the creators, I think that the way I did it, the attribution is pretty clear that if someone wanted to go look up that creator on TikTok, they can from what's in the
Yeah.
video. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
there's been an article or actually a collection of articles that have been compiled, um, compilation over on Substack. The author's name or the compiler's name, Alberto Romero. And it's basically how AI affects your brain according to the studies, which basically the numbers are starting to come in as we're starting to get a sense of what is the effect of these, chat GPT and the like being out there and among us. And there's, all kinds of theory about, is it making people dumber? Is it making people smarter? Is it going to take away all the jobs in the world? All that kind of thing. And well, they're actually starting to do some real studies um, on the measurable effects of regular use of AI for these things on the brain. And the result is actually not like many scientific studies, it would seem, not terribly surprising, not terribly far off from what common sense would tell you, which is, and I love this quote, which was pulled from that AI can make what you produce better while making you worse at producing it. I think that that's actually now, Damien would probably argue with the making what you produce better, but I think you get the notion, right?
I understand the
it
concept.
is possible to make something pretty with AI, which is that's already a step forward from 3 years ago when all you could say was it's possible to make something pretty weird with AI, and now it's actually okay. So that's not the argument anymore. It's not that all the hands have six fingers. That's not the problem anymore. Now it's okay. It's actually getting better at what it does. I think that's good because now we can take that off the table. That wasn't ever the problem. That wasn't ever the moral conundrum we need to deal with this. It's where is this going to fit, into our lives, and how much of our creative capacity or creative crafting, if you will, should we be outsourcing to a machine? And that's something that I think each creator has to contend with, And this is
Yeah,
an
but
interesting study in that
but
regard, in
short
that.
of you drawing it on a pad
Mhm.
hundreds and hundreds of times and flicking it in front of a camera like the old-fashioned animated, you're using machines all the time. These are
Well,
just
yes, yes, but none of those machines are making my ideas.
okay. So it's purely the idea
They're
generation
not,
bit.
I think the ideas is where it's the most controversial, if you will,
Mm.
um, there's something to be said for even for drawing one's own storyboards, that there's something to be said for that human interaction of whether you're doing digital or on paper or whatever, even there's something about that process that's important. And there's something about the process uh, of creating that is the process itself is the reason to make art,
Yeah.
not the clicks, not the views. That doesn't give you anything lasting. That's a little dopamine hit, maybe, or a cause for extreme depression when nobody clicks or likes. You can't hinge your emotional well-being on that. But enjoying the process, getting something out of the process, and that's the part that we're talking about. Well, let's just outsource that. So now we just sit and lounge on a sofa and we don't even do the create part. So that's the part that I think where it can be dangerous.
It's
But on a practical basis, it's that getting AI to do that. Working on art makes you better at art. That's like a hard and fast formula. Working on it makes you better. It doesn't guarantee to turn you into, if you're painting a Michelangelo, it doesn't guarantee that outcome. But what it does say is that you will get better at it by working on it. And I think what this is calling some attention to is that using that not working on it makes you worse at it, if that makes sense.
Mm.
That just letting someone else make the music or make the image or make the film, you get no better at anything doing it. And I think that with regards to its role in education and research, that's something to be aware of as well. That I think AI is a tremendously valuable research tool. but we can't let it do our thinking for us,
Oh no, it doesn't.
or
It
we
doesn't.
get dumber, right? And but the tendency is to, well, why not? It's offering to do that. Let's just, yeah, why not?
No,
That's
no.
why
It's
not.
like
It's a
it's like
it's a co-creative tool. I mean, I
Yeah,
use it obviously, and I use it fairly regularly, but it's more of a conversational agent for me where I'm exploring concepts and I'm looking for different perspectives, but so it doesn't write anything for me,
right.
but it helps me question what I'm thinking in some ways, but it doesn't give me the answers, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And
And
I
even if
think
it did, we
I'm
shouldn't
not.
be taking the answers without
No, no, no. I don't take.
verifying, right? Yeah. No, I
No,
agree.
no.
I
You
agree.
have to
That's
kind of.
how I use it as well.
Yes,
so,
that's exactly how
Every
I
day.
use it. But I will
so
tell you that I have colleagues who have been working in computational processes in art. I mean, obviously, you're aware I'm the director of the Art AI Festival here in the UK and have been for over 5 years. But a lot of the people that we showcase within that environment are established artists who adopt the tools. And they will argue, many of them will argue, that the tools enable them to explore a greater range of potential options from which they then make a selection to develop their work. And so they're using the tools in a range of different ways, but it's not to replace them in any way, shape, or form. It is purely as a tool set to help them explore their own practice. And that's been a theme that's been very common among those and you know, a lot of the artists that I'm talking about would be people, for example, Ernest Edmonds, who was one of the founders of the computer arts movement back in the 1960s. And he's very clear that that's how these tools operate best. They're not replacing him in any way. They're tools that
Mhm.
he harnesses that give him new ways of looking and exploring the options that he cannot himself possibly generate enough of in order to come up with the same ideas. That's how he
so
does it.
I've been looking at that quote, Phil, and what comes to mind is taking a piece of paper and a pencil and drawing a stick figure as some actual art, comparing it to typing into an AI, say, I want, let's say you have the two stick figures and they're holding hands or something, and that's like a very basic romantic scene. You go into an AI image generation tool and you tell it, I want this two people holding hands, and then it generates an image, photorealistic, all the details, everything. There's a big, nice sunset in the background or something. But you didn't create that, you just typed it in. Whereas the stick figure you drew yourself, even though it's not as visually impressive as the AI generated image. That's what's coming into my mind. It's a very extreme example of that, but yeah. But if you keep drawing those stick figures, you'll start thinking, well, actually, maybe I could do something in the background. And then you do the next one. You think, okay, well, I'm getting better at this. Maybe that's some color, and you could do the sunset as a sky. And over time, you'll get better at it. But if you just type it into the AI, you'll get obviously better than what you're starting out with, but you'll never get better at drawing the stick figures yourself.
Yeah, that's bare bones. That's what it is. Yeah. I think also though a case can be made for if I have a musical idea
Hmm.
and I pick up a guitar or I sit down at a piano and I work out on the piano what the idea is. Was I off? Was I off sourcing my creativity to the strings and pedals and pans and keys on the piano? It's just a tool that I was using. I can't make the sounds of a piano, no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I practice. If I don't use that piano, I'm not going to get a piano sound. And I think that what Tracy's saying is that there are artists who are learning to wield AI as a musical instrument, so to speak, that
Mm.
it is something that they have learned how to play it, you know? So
Yeah.
as a thing that they've learned how it works so that they can get it to make a sound. I'm going way metaphorical here, but you get the
Yeah,
idea, right?
yeah.
It's an instrument. And without that, without that musical instrument, I can't sit here and make a guitar sound. I mean, I could, I'd sound really stupid. But it's never going to be like a guitar, So it's even at a more fundamental level than just getting good at guitar or getting good at writing a story or getting good at drawing a stick figure. It's
Mm,
about, I think that where it actually matters is in that stick figure analogy that you were talking about. AI is the pencil. AI is not the
absolutely.
end drawing. You can't draw that without something to draw with.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of choices of what to draw with. You could use a marker, you could use a Crayola crayon, you could use a pen, you could
Mm.
use blood, you could use dye. People have been drawing for how many tens of thousands of years,
Or
maybe
you could
hundreds.
use a camera
Or you could use a camera. Yeah.
or
So I
a
get where that's coming from. What makes AI different is that there's no way for a camera
to make it up.
to invent or to simulate invention, right? There's no way for a film camera to do that. There's no way for a piano to invent or to simulate invention. You can have a player piano that will take a human performance and play it back for you, but that's not the same thing, right? And what AI does is it goes out and steals all the piano performances that have ever been done and improvises on it and calls it creation. And
Yeah.
that's a problem, right?
Mhm.
It may end up being a really interesting result, like, oh, wow, I haven't heard that sound before. And if you try it enough times, hey, try that again, eventually it spits out something that, wow, that's actually a little bit melodic. And so then that's what Suno is, you know? It's just that it's gotten really good at guessing what sounds good from all the feedback that they farmed from us. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think AI, what it's going to come down to is that we understand it as a tool in our toolbox,
And that
not
also,
as a neural interface, so to speak.
I agree, but also what it will come down to, I believe, is the ethical and moral stance that is instilled in each of us as creative practitioners. And that, I think, is where we're having to play catch up at the moment because it's very easy to use these tools as the means end. And in fact, an ethical stance, responsible stance, is to use it as a tool. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of folks that are not
Well, and
doing.
they're being marketed as a means end.
Absolutely.
People are being totally encouraged to do that and to pay money for the privilege of doing that.
But people have got to wake up about that, I think, and
Right,
that's the
right.
bit where I think there's the learning to be done.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe my theory is that a lot of the distaste that is built up around AI for Damien and for others is the end result of that marketing of these tools as an end and encouraging people to do that. And that's what has generated what we all refer to as AI slop.
Mm,
That's what thoughtlessness that's what it looks like. And yeah, it doesn't mean that the tool isn't good. It's that, you don't use a saw to bang in a nail.
we've got a bunch of lazy and bad actors that we're dealing with, is what,
Yeah.
we get that with everything, don't we?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and I think actually the machinima community is actually a really good community on which to from which to draw in terms of thinking about this because they've learnt the hard way about how to be creative. They've learnt the hard way about what authenticity and originality is because of the way the content has been drawn from games, which is not, we've long debated the IP and the copyright issues around the creation of transformative kind of works. And I think there's a lot to be taken from that learning into this domain that we're looking at now. It's not
Yeah.
a straight shift, but I think there's lots of merit in thinking about it.
Well, even on a metaphorical level, if you think about
Mm,
making machinima in games
mm,
in a simulated world and, you know, the Sims behave in a way that you didn't expect them to. They seem to kind of have a mind of their own, and they improvise, they hallucinate. In what sense is that not AI, really?
Yeah.
As in terms of its effect on the creative process, if you're filming Machinima in a GTA city, there's a lot of elements that are just there is an intelligence, a programming behind them that they're behaving in this way and things go unexpectedly and stuff. So there's a comfort level with leveraging other people's IP to make your own stuff. We all have done it. Anyone in Machinima has done it at some point, and then also some of the behaviors that are going on are not all neat and controlled like they would if you built it all yourself in iClone. So yeah, I think Machinima is a place where people have cut their teeth on and built their craft while being surrounded by issues that are very analogous to what AI is.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe they'll lead the way on, or be some of the leaders of the way on how to properly integrate this and,
I miss Hugh's voice in this conversation,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
Because
It'd
he
be
would
really
have
interesting to hear what he had to say.
he
Yeah.
would have really been fascinating to listen to on these debates, I think. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, yeah, that's our news. So we kind of we started on a really down note and we kind of ended on a down note somewhat, but I think there's reasons to be optimistic. And
Well,
if nothing else, the films that we keep seeing come through our boards on this show are a reason to be optimistic. There's a lot of great creativity going on out there. It's exciting.
absolutely.
if you want to end on a positive note, the Halo remake is getting released on the 28th of July.
Great.
Oh,
I just looked up the release date just so we can end on a
Thank
something
you.
exciting
Thanks
for
for
us.
sharing that. I really
let me
look forward
write
to
that
that.
down.
Yeah.
Audience, what do you think
Pre-order it
about
on
these
Steam.
topics? Yeah, what do you think about Halo and these other topics? Let us know with a comment wherever you're watching or listening to this, or drop us an email, talk@completelymachinima.com. My name's Phil Rice, and on behalf of my co-hosts, Damian Valentine and Tracy Harwood, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
And now for something completely
Halo.
and now for something completely
Halo.